So I'm trying to. I tell people all the time they can send me an email at my work email, and unfortunately, maybe it's my non-opposable thumbs. I've had a new password the last couple of days, and as I'm trying to type in the password today, I got it to open up once, but now it's denying me access. On the other hand, our next guest, I did the smart thing. I correspond with him via my Gmail account. Although I have a friend who tells me that Gmail, he said, you never know who else is looking at it. He's got a suspicion of things like, well, Google. But anyway, it's an alternate that I have to use every now and then. Bill Colley with you. A lot of gremlins in the building today. Did you notice that? 49, and it's coming up on 8 minutes after 9 o'clock. You're listening to Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Tom Munds joins us periodically from the John Birch Society. First of all, welcome back to the program, sir.
Thanks for having me this morning.
I was going to say right off the top, you've been working, we've talked about this, I think, a couple of times over the summer, on a program that is really designed to allow local law enforcement to know that the public supports them. And, of course, that really became a heated issue over the summer with some of the rhetoric coming out of Washington and the like. But you made a comment yesterday about the possibility that we have people now who are trying to move us in the direction, I suppose, incrementally, but they're trying to move us in the direction of a nationalized police force. A lot of people, and I think you'd agree with this, you see that as a very dangerous thing.
Yeah, I see that as a dangerous thing. It's extremely dangerous, especially when most people that today we're so busy with our jobs and and families and all of that, we really don't even know what history says about that. And if there are famous quotes talking about the fact that those that don't know history are doomed to repeat the issues of the issues. I completely messed that up, but you know what I mean. And so the idea is that most of us don't know the history. We don't know about the formulation of the KGB or who they were before that, which I can't even remember. The rise of the SS and all of those things, and the move toward the nationalization, it was made clear through very, 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 very incremental statements that Obama has made since the time that he's been in office. Basically calling constitutionalists terrorists, and you've got Big Sis over there at the Department of Homeland Security, and we've got the FBI is on the watch for, these constitutionalists. We've got 8 county sheriffs that have basically said the MRAPs are for constitutionalists, and then they try to back out of those statements saying that, somehow we misunderstood while they're, arming themselves with every federal agency is now becoming, having law enforcement authority, undelegated and unauthorized, by the way, with millions of hollow point bullets that most of us have forgotten about that was in the news before. So, we're in a very volatile situation right now, and some would argue that I argue with my libertarian sort of anarchist type friends on Facebook, and they'll suggest that we've already been federalized, and to some degree they're right. No military force that has ever received both funding and education has ever come back and maintained its autonomy. And so the question then comes up is you just try to be able to pull their federal funding and see what happens. And then it becomes a fight for the survival of the fittest, where law enforcement tries to do what it can to be able to maintain its existence for the community. At the same time, when they feel that they don't have the money to be able to do that, they use things like civil asset forfeiture and somehow think that it's okay to be able to do that. So we're in a very, very volatile situation right now where we have to walk a very, very fine line to be able to say, yes, we do support law enforcement, but we support the lawful position of law enforcement.
I think too that there's a lot of us have the view that this goal has been furthered, and probably we've seen people working on it a lot longer than we've actually recognized it. I remember going to see the movie Live and Let Die when I was in the 4th grade, where you had a Southern sheriff who was portrayed as a buffoon, and so you've got movies and television and the like that are trying to always portray a Barney Fife or all local law enforcement as somehow not quite being up to snuff, not like Efren Zimbalist was on the FBI when I was a kid growing up. And I think for that reason, the public has been given this impression that the local guys they're not up to snuff. And so we've softened the public up to maybe accept a nationalized force.
Well, we have a lot of it comes back from, if we look at I've been going around showing law enforcement, of course I've been traveling the state as I may have mentioned before, visiting with the police chiefs and sheriffs of the state, trying to be able to get out to all of them, to be able to try to show them a few things, to try to discourage the the simple characterization of a right-wing conspiracy theorist. And really what's simple to do is to do two things. One of them is to be able to look up Cloward and Piven and read their strategy in their effort to be able to collapse America and institute a new form of government. The other one is to be able to go to YouTube and to be able to type in Obama gives accolades to Cloward and Piven. And so what you have there is you have a direct, if the video is true and Cloward and Piven is true, which they are, then you have a direct correlation with the immediate overthrow by the executive branch advocating for the overthrow of an American government, which is a violation of not only the Constitution, but the Smith Act and the Taft-Hartley Act. So we're in a very dangerous time right now where there's a lot going on. Law enforcement, God bless them for the job they do, but here's the thing. Just if you have a problem with law enforcement, you probably need to pull the plank out of your own eye and realize the fact that we have all allowed them incrementally to be able to get to the point where they have the increased power that they do without being able to pull the reins back. Now they don't know, few of them know anything about the Constitution. Few of them understand even the word limitations as it deals with their office, and we can't just go after them when they pull us over for tickets and say, well, and then flip out on them because they have no idea in many cases of what we're talking about. The legislature was the one that created the laws. We were the ones in our own ignorance that voted the legislature in that put these people into office to be able to enforce these laws that law enforcement ultimately has to do. And so the law enforcement, in many cases that I've talked to, doesn't even want to enforce the laws that the legislature is doing. But what kind of position does it put them in then?
It puts them in a position where someone can say, well, if you don't, we'll find someone in Washington who will.
That's exactly right. And what's going to happen once the federal government, and Obama's going to do this, he's going to say, well, those piddly salaries that you're getting from the states, we're going to go ahead and we're going to raise your salary from $35,000 to $75,000. How would that make you feel? And you tell me that law enforcement isn't going to line up for doubling of their salary.
Right. You give them 20 years and then tell them they can retire at half pay too as well, and everyone will jump on board with that.
Yeah, so at some point somebody's going to have to stand. Somebody's going to have to realize, I've had some great things happen. I wish I could go into detail on those. I've actually got a meeting this morning with the county sheriff that looks like he's completely flipped around, and he's open to communicating with us. He's even stated some things that have really been quite surprising about the overreach of government coming from the feds, and so there's an effort, I think, for the sheriffs to be able to take a step back, do a double take, and kind of really realize what their position really is. And so, while people are getting discouraged and people are getting angry, I'm asking people to hold tight on this. Hold them accountable, be respectful to them, because the alternative is not going to be good.
Our guest is Tom Munds. He's with the John Birch Society and speaking with us this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. At newsradio1310.com. It's 9:49, on our way up probably today to near 70 or somewhere in that range. Speaking of that sheriff, this was a fellow over the summer who criticized the president and his policies by name. And it always bothers me when I see within a few weeks someone then start looking into any critic. When someone criticizes the president, Bob Menendez knows this too as well, all of a sudden people start investigating you, and that very same sheriff now finds himself under the microscope.
Isn't it strange? And so somehow he's been demonized or mischaracterized as fraudulent. But you can't even make this stuff up. What happens when there's a school shooting? Oh, well, we've really got to brainwash people about how they really think about guns. Oh, we need more gun control. You can't even make this up. School shootings, bombings, everything always results in more federal control. Then you've got Baltimore. In Baltimore, you got Sharpton standing up there with his fist, solidarity, saying, basically that the local enforcement is inept. You know what? A lot of those people are the ones that voted that council in there, that voted, that put those things in place. And so then the question then becomes, is the black council that those black people actually voted in, are they racist against their own people? Or what is really going on here? And so there's so much going on when there's, and it makes you wonder about the school shootings. You go into and you start looking at these school shootings, and everything has to do with something having to do with some socialist kid or some kid that was, reading Nikki Giovanni's racist books and all of this stuff. But we have to understand history has always shown that shootings of presidents and everything have always come from the left. They've always come from the communist agitators. The war with the police came from the communist agitators. And people now today believe that the communists are communism is dead. People will laugh at you because progressivism is okay. But communism was the number one enemy, and it struck the heart of every American in this country. And somehow we don't have an enemy? I mean, get real here.
I was going to say, right? You changed the name, and all of a sudden you change people's attitudes.
Well, in the magazine, the new issue magazine, I hope it's okay I mention it, but
yeah, go ahead.
The September 21st New American, if you want a copy, Bill, you can give everybody my phone number or email, it's fine. I need people to get either a PDF copy of this, I need them to be able to buy these magazines, buy them in bulk. The idea is to be able to get this magazine into every sheriff and police chief in the state. I'd like to be able to do meetings with city council members, county commissioners, anybody that is listening. I'd like to be able to do meetings in homes or in libraries or wherever it is to be able to try to help inform the public as well on the danger of this issue. And I believe that if we do this right, Idaho can protect itself, diminish or possibly eliminate what we're dealing with today. And I think that's where, that's where I'm going with it.
We've got about a minute left, and I did fail to ask you about a website address, too. If people would like to know more about the JBS, where would you send them?
jbs.org.
See, that's pretty simple. That's, some of these people, when I talk to them, they have these web addresses that stretch on for 3 or 4 lines, and they're almost impossible to remember, but that pretty well sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like I said, I'd be willing to help however I can. We like to start by creating ad hoc committees and that kind of thing so that people can be, we can get some local flavor into these and stuff. So if cops have questions, they can go to these local ad hoc committees. If not, I'll do whatever I can to be able to make this thing a success, and I hope that your listeners will too.
Well, I'm glad to hear you've got a meeting coming up this morning for a discussion, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Believe me, there will never be an end of issues that we have going on.
That's for sure. And as long as you're out there, they're going to be, the people will be notified. So that's a great job that you're doing.
Well, I'm glad someone finally said it.
You're amazing, man. There's you, and then there's a guy out here that I don't know if I can mention, but he takes very, very good care of me. And interestingly enough, they both are part of the same radio station that you work for. So
yeah,
kudos to them as well. So
I think the world of him. He's got a national reputation, I should point out. Tom, thank you much for the time today, and good luck at that meeting.
Thank you, Bill. Take care.
Tom Munds joining us this morning from the John Birch Society, speaking with us about really it's a threat that they could federalize or nationalize police in this country, and that would mean no more local control over law enforcement. Now, some of you may say, well, wouldn't that be great? What else do you want to give away? Hey, we've got a guest coming up soon talking about Boy Scouts of America. Hope you can stick around.